Hi guys, how are you all today? I'm going to give you all a little bit of time to get in here. I've been playing a little bit with my scan and cut this morning after a live, so I thought we would play a little bit more with enhanced image tracing. So that's my topic for today. I had a question from one person out there wanting to know how to create an envelope, so I'm going to kind of hit that today as well. I don't know the exact size envelope that you're trying to do. I know what I did. Hi, Jan. Glad you are here. Hi, Vera. Good to see you today. Um, so we're going to play. And if there's something that you want to watch and or something that you want to see, please give me a heads up, and I will see if we can't do that. I'm going to take more questions today, I think, than I normally do, because I tell you, this week is just a nutso week. So there's not a ton that I have had a chance to prepare for you guys. Hi, Tammy. Good to see you. Hi, Lois. Good to see you. Glad you all are joining us. Hi, Marcia. Hi, Marcia. I can't speak today. Hi, Vera. And Miss Priscilla from Texas. Good to see you here. I'm sure your accent's close to mine. Hi, Elvina. And hi, Lisa. And hi, Jan. Good to see you here. Yeah, Jan, Canvas Workspace is not that hard. It's just that there's some little peculiarities that you have to kind of figure out. Good to see you, Susan from Penbook Pines. Pines. Hi, Carolyn. I know you're from Texas. Hey, Jan. Good to see you again today. Yeah, we've had quite the events. Y'all are going to see me 3 days in a row. Those that are in my class. So, you you may have had enough of me by the time Thursday rolls around. So good to see you guys. Everybody's starting to roll in. And so we will get started here. So hi, Patty. Glad you're joining us for the first time. You may want to go back and watch the previous ones that I've done on Canvas Workspace just to kind of catch you up a little bit. Today we are going to talk about one of the questions that I get a lot about is scanning patterns in that you've purchased from someplace else and you want to cut those out for your appliques. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit, and I'm going to talk about how to create an envelope. We're going to do the envelope first because it's the easiest one, and then we'll dive deeper into the well. I always like to start with the easy because it's not as challenging to you guys, and then we'll dive a little bit deeper into what else you can do. So as I said, I don't remember what envelope size it was, and I personally took apart an envelope. All right, so I just took it apart. I drew my dashed lines across it so that I would know where I drew lines so that I would know where I needed to draw lines in Canvas Workspace. If I had a 12 by 24 inch scan mat that actually worked on a DX machine, life would have been so easy. We'd have scanned it in and we'd have gone forth and multiplied. However, when I went to look at my scan mats, I knew I had a 24-inch scan mat, but it's not for my DX model. And that would have meant taking a machine out of a box that I've already packed up, and so I didn't do that. I went around it a little bit different way. I traced my envelope onto a piece of legal size paper and took a picture of it with my phone because I didn't have the 24-inch scanning mat. So if you have the 24-inch scanning mat, trace around it, scan it in on your 24-inch scanning mat. But since I didn't have that today and did not realize that, shame on me, we're going to go about this a little bit different of way. So there you go. There you have it. Hi, Doris. Glad you all are here. Jan, yes, you're going to like having the 24-inch mat if you're doing bigger things. Usually I'm not doing anything huge, so I really didn't think about it. I don't use my 24-inch mat that often because most of the stuff I do, as I said, is smaller. So learning lesson, I should probably go get me a 24-inch scan mat. Maybe I can talk my dealer into selling me one of those. What do y'all think? Probably so. Hi from Monroe, Louisiana, Miss Tracy. I have actually been in your city before once when I was at the water skiing national championships when I was in college. So yes, that was my previous life. I look like a real athlete, don't I? That was, but at the time, yes, that little known fact about what I did in college. Okay, So we're going to do the workaround. I took a photo of it with my phone, and we're going to do image tracing, and it's not going to work. I'm going to sit out here and tell you right now it's not going to work. We're going to just use it as a template because I know it doesn't work. So let's come over here and bring up our Canvas workspace. I don't think you all need to see my email in the background here, so let me close that out. Hi from Weeki Wachee, Florida. I'll be down in your neck of the woods next week. So hi, Judy from Surprise. I love that city. I love the name of your town. I just do. I don't know why, but I do. All right, so we are going to choose our leaf, which is our image tracing option. Okay. And the first one, remember, I took a photograph of it, so I emailed it to myself and I saved it to my computer. And this is my envelope. So we're creating an envelope, and you could make this whatever size you wanted it to be. I just traced around what I had. So we're going to shrink it in, and I'm really not going to worry too much about what the results are because I'm going to get rid of it totally. The only thing I want is the picture, but we'll see if we can make it any better. I may have better luck this time around, but it's doubtful. Oh, well, there you go. But I know for a fact what happened when I did this. I get multiple pieces, so I get doubles, and I don't want doubles. But we'll go ahead and say okay on that. And there we go. So now I know that I want to make this on a 12 by 24 inch mat, so I'm going to touch Artboard. This is where you select the size mat that you have. We're going to come up and change our artboard size to 12 by 24. And I'm going to shrink it in. I know it fit in a 12-inch mat, so I'm pretty good with that right there. Now, let's go see what we got as a result. I'm going to click off of everything, and I'm going to my layers menu, and these are the pieces that I got. I know I don't want those circles, so I'm going to go ahead and delete those out. This is what I have. So if we change our color of our line to something we can see, like yellow, we can look and see what our results are. And you can see I got a double line. Not ideal for what we're wanting to do, right? So let's learn how to make this with what we have in Canvas Workspace when your image tracing doesn't work. So we're going to delete what the software did itself, and we're going to create it from here. I actually took a pretty square picture, so I'm actually quite happy with that. We're going to come into our shapes menu here. So if I touch this button, it brings up my shapes menu. I can choose trims, sayings, whatever. We're going to choose the basic shapes here, and I'm going to choose a square shape, and I'm going to drag it over here. I could have chosen a rounded rectangle, a rounded square. However, I learned that I didn't like that. It was more trouble than it was worth. And I'm going to make it bigger, and we can make it as big as this square is. So here we go. And that is the size that I need it to be. So we're going to zoom in up at the top. We want those corners to be rounded. So I'm going to click my select tool and tap that twice. And you'll notice how it gave me my edit nodes. So I can change those to curves. And those curves actually let me play with that. That's not the one I want to have curved, so I'm going to come in and we're going to click on this point. Play nice with me. We're going to click on this point right here, and then we're going to go down and click on this point right here, because that blue line is what I'm looking for. I want to add a point between the two. So if I touch add point, it's going to add it right in the middle of the two. We're going to take it up to the top and turn it into a curved point. So now we can pull this one over, pull the little node, and now I've got my curve. If I click on this one, you'll notice that my blue line's coming down through here. That makes this one easy. So we're going to click add a point, and it's going to add it way down in the middle. We're going to take it back up to the top, and we are going actually a little bit further, and we're going to turn it into a curved point, and we're going to move this one over and turn it into a curved point, and now we can adjust both of those handles to where we get a pretty little curve there on the end. We don't want symmetrical. All right, let's turn off our image so we can see what we've got. Pretty cool, huh? So we have our envelope basic shape made. The next thing that we want to do is add the little wing parts. So once again, let's come this time and grab a rectangle and drag it in. We want to rotate that rectangle. So I'm going to click on my edit tool, come in here and change the angle to 90 degrees and press enter on my keyboard. You could scroll up if you wanted to. I find it easier just to type in the angle and press enter. I'm going to make that the size that I want it to be, but it doesn't have that little hide spot or the little carve out of it. So we're going to tap it twice. We're going to add a point, and that's where I need to add it because it's right there at, oops, I tapped too fast. That blue line is there, so we're going to add that point. We're going to move it right where that bends, and then we're going to take this point and change it to that. So all you got to do is drag them, and now we can select it again. Is there any reason for me to draw the same thing on the opposite side? No. So we're going to duplicate that and take it over to the opposite side. And in your edit menu, you can simply flip it and move it where you want it to be. Cheater's trick to line them up is to hold the control key down and select the opposite one, and then you can choose Align on your edit menu and Top. And if you want to move it down, you can touch the arrow keys on your keyboard to move them down. So let's go into our layers window and look and see what we have. We have our main rectangle, and then we have the two wings. Great. We want to make all of those one unit. So we're going to draw around them all. And we're going to our edit menu here. And we will, to make them all one piece, weld. So now you have the basic shape of your envelope. This envelope was a little weird. So let's turn on our the image so that we can see it. You'll notice where I put those little dashed lines right across there. That was to indicate to me that, oops, undo that. We want to select all here so that I can move it all at one time. That was to tell me that I wanted to draw a line straight across there. So we're going to do that. We're going to turn off our layer. We're going to turn off that image. And I'm just going to draw it across a straight line here. So here's my line tool. And if I click on one side and drag it over to the opposite side and double click, I should have me a straight little line. We can then turn back on our image and see if it's where we want it to be, and it is. Fancy that. Sweet. So we want that's going to be a bend, so we don't want it to actually cut. We want it to score. On your paintbrush, the properties window, you want to choose the dash line pattern. Notice now I have a dash line across there, and that will score. The other scoring places that we want are where the envelope's going to bend. So I'm going to turn off the image so you can see what we're talking about. We're going to click there, click there, click there, and double click right there. Go to our paintbrush and change that into a dashed line. So now we have our envelope the way we want it. We're going to select it all by Control A or draw around the whole thing. And then we're going to right mouse click and group it. At that point, you can make that envelope whatever size you need it to be. So my envelope, let's get rid of our image. So I'm going to select the image and delete it I press delete on my keyboard. So now I'm going to bring you all up here. Hold on a second. I'm going to take my measuring tape here. Oh, that's a lovely sounding measuring tape. And I'm going to measure from one side of my envelope to the opposite side. The top to bottom is 12.5. So I just want to cross like that. So I know that I want my height to be 12.5. All right. So come back into my properties window right here. And my height, I want 12.5. I can then press enter. If I want to make sure that it's the correct dimensions width-wise, I would measure it the same way, going wing to wing, and that is 8 1/4. Wow, that's darn close. So we can take off that maintain aspect ratio and make that a 0.25 and press enter. And our envelope is basically the exact dimension of what I have in my hand. Hold on a second. There we go. So any questions on what I just did? You can make you can make it whatever size you want. So basically, in order to create an envelope the size that you want, you would deconstruct one, trace around it. You could scan it into CanvasWorkspace if you want to. If you can do that, if you have a long enough scanning mat. I could have pulled another mat out, but I don't have any long mats for the DX. All of my my long mats were for the non-DX, and like I said, I wasn't going to go take one out and unpack one, basically. I deconstructed my envelope, traced around it, and took a picture of it with the phone. That was the easiest way. Those tools are not hard to use. So just because it doesn't process well doesn't mean you can't use something, okay? Now, I'm going to put up a banner here so you all know where I got the pattern that we're about to use. This designer has some really stinking cute stuff. It's called the caboodle. These are the caboodle storage cubes is what she calls them. So we're going to take the hedgehog and we're going to bring it in and I'm going to show you how to use it. So it is, where's my hedgehog? The way she does hers does make this kind of easy. It may be over there on my scan and cut itself. Yes, hold on. No, it's not. So it's sitting on my desk. I've just moved it out of my way. Aha, there we go. All right, so this is how she designs her patterns. And so she has the completed pattern over here, showing you how to put it together, and then she has the parts. Well, you can scan it into your machine, but sometimes that doesn't work quite so well. So let's see what happens. Y'all have asked me about enhanced image tracing, so that's where we're going to head today with this one. It is going to take, how does the scan and cut do the dashed line? Okay, good question before I go on. What it does is it basically drops down and just scores. It goes right along that line, so it's not doing a complete cut. It's just doing little cuts as it goes along so that it'll make it to where it bends very nicely. If you remember the pumpkin box that we did a couple of weeks ago, let me undo it. My score lines are where my pumpkin goes together, and it basically just cuts enough for it to be able to bend, okay? And that makes it super simple to make things go together instead of having to use a tool to bend it on your own. It just makes it very simple. Okay, So, good. Excellent question. You want something that dries fast and that's permanent. Um, so I would not use Elmer's. I am one of those that usually uses tape, so I'll use a permanent tape. Um, but I would look for a fast dry so that it and something that's not runny. You could use the stick glue if you want to. Just make sure that it's not repositionable. You want it to be stuck the entire time. If it's repositionable, that means it can come up. Okay. Um, all right. And as you all have heard me say many times over and over and over again, I am a fabric and a heat transfer person more than paper. So I spend more of my time cutting heat transfer, adhesive vinyl, and fabric than anything else. Because embroidery is my first love. Embroidery and embroidery software is my first love. The scan and cut is a wonderful accessory to my hobby. Yes, they really have improved those double stick tape things. And so I just take some and run it across. If I want to make sure that it's going to be permanent, then I'll work a little bit harder on it. It just depends. You do want it to stay. The glue sticks, they have some really nice glue sticks. And if I know that I think it might come apart, then I will use the glue stick. So if I mail it in the mailbox, I'm using a glue stick. Okay. All right, so let's talk about enhanced image tracing now. As I said, this one is a very complex image. There's a lot of information in the scan, so it may take it a little bit longer to process it. Just keep that in mind. And while it's processing, I may come back and talk. I just want you with me on StreamYard, processing on my computer gets a little slower. All right, so let's go back over here, and I'm going to take off the banner so y'all can see what we're doing for a few minutes. And let's touch File and New. Actually, I want to save my envelope. So I'm going to do File, Save As. And this will save it as a CanvasWorkspace project. So envelope. And if I wanted to send that to my scan and cut, I could export, transfer that FCM file, and I could send it to the directly to my scan and cut, or I could save it as an FCM file. I'm not going to do that right now. I just want to save it in case I decide I want to use that later. So now let's come and choose File and then New. I am going to change my map size back to a 12 by 12. And we are going to touch the Image Trace button. That is the leaf. So when I touch that, this one I did scan. So on my scan and cut, I went Scan, Transfer to CanvasWorkspace. It's on the second option of your scannings. The enhanced image tracing is an upgrade. It did not come with any of the DX machines. So we're going to touch an image scanned by my machine. And here is the scan of the hedgehog. I'm going to come in and crop it. And we'll see if we can make it go, but I already know it doesn't. So this is one of those cases that it doesn't like me. If I reduce my number of colors, it still doesn't like me. If I increase my number of colors, it still doesn't like me. So what I've learned with this particular exercise, we can try trace by color. Still doesn't like me. So this is an enhanced image tracing item, or draw it myself. So those are my options. I can either draw it myself, which wouldn't be that hard, or use enhanced image tracing. So it's going to take it a few minutes to decide. And it says, please adjust the tracing area by using the pen tool. Okay, so we're going to zoom in. And we are going to press the plus sign, and we are going to draw around the outside of this part, telling it that we want to look at this. And I'm not going to worry about drawing too straight. And let's let it process. Hi, April. Good to see you here. So it's taking its time. It's going to think about things here a little bit. So if anybody out there has a good glue that somebody might want to use, feel free to share your opinion. So let's give that a few minutes to process, and while it's doing its thing, I'll come back over here and talk to you. And I'll look. How do I export from the DX machine to Canvas Workspace? All right, on the scan and cut machine, when you touch scan, you have direct cut, scan to USB, scan to cut data, and if you touch the arrow on the right, there is another one that says transfer to Canvas Workspace. That's what I did. I transferred it to Canvas Workspace so that my image popped in. Okay, so it has traced what it's going to do, and it has given me way more information than I want. So now I'm going to go back over here, and I am going to take my minus, and we're going to take a little bit out. Oh, my mouse got stuck. This one did pretty good, the first one. You always use Tombow Mono glue to assemble boxes or envelopes. Oh, that's good to know. Thanks, Caroline. And Caroline is the queen of crafting these days. I've seen some of the stuff that she's been doing and posting on Facebook. That she's done some beautiful work lately. And this just takes a little playing around. And as I said, if I had picked one of my smaller images, that would have been smart to do because it would have been faster. But you're not always going to find something that is fast. So we're going to go around this one so that it takes out all the rest of that nonsense. Okay, so we're getting there. We're getting there. Now I'm going to add back a little bit back in. So I'm going to come back over here and trace around that area. Depending on how good, if I hadn't gone closer around it to begin with, I would have probably had better results. But it all depends on how good you are with a pen. So sometimes I'll try for the whole kit and caboodle, see what all I can get, and then I'll play with it. I added too much back in, so I see a comment popping up, but let me finish tracing because I will tell you I can't do two things at once here. All right. Yeah, Carolyn, where do you get the Tombow Mono glue? Because I've never heard of that either. And guys, if you get tired of this, you can always go and trace it yourself. All right, so we're getting there. Let me get back over on my screen. I'm going to minus out this section here. It all depends on how much you want to do manually yourself. Okay, guys, while we're waiting on this to process and do its thing, let's come back and chit chat. Because watching a computer spin is about like watching paint dry. So what have you guys been crafting? What are the things that you want to do with yours? That's a really good question to ask. I'm going to let you all do that while I come back over here and play with this guy a little bit more. So I'm going to click my plus sign. I got rid of all of the mess, but I need to come back in here and go around what I want it to actually grab. So that should get my stem part. And I'm not seeing any responses from you guys. Oh, that's kind of cool. Judy says Tombow makes a water-soluble glue too, which she uses to sew and quilt. It washes right out. That's cool. Very cool. So you would like to cut out applique. That's what we're working on here, is tracing that image to get it done. Now, I'm about done with enhanced image tracing here, unless I go to my scan and cut and pick a different pattern, just simply because I would have done better off tracing this onto a piece of paper to where there wasn't so much image for this to process. Marcia, I'm trying to get this applique pattern to actually trace for us, and it is being a little booger. So I'm gonna go pick a different pattern, and we'll just scan. I'll scan it into my ScanNCut. Now I do not have. Y'all are just gonna have to. I don't have a camera set over there, so give me 2 seconds. And I'm just going to scan and transfer to CanvasWorkspace, because I know this one will be a little bit better and doesn't take as much processing power. All right, so let's get out of this mess. You like to create fonts, or is it better to purchase them? Carrie, you can get TrueType fonts and install them into your computer and work on them directly on CanvasWorkspace. Let's see here. You'd like to see the roll feeder do one of the large designs. We'll have to do that another day, because roll feeder is up there and the camera's not on the ScanNCut. You make a lot of labels and bring print so you can see what you have on your tote. That's a great idea. You're working on a laptop quilt and a pumpkin pillow. I wonder where that pumpkin pillow is coming from, Pat. You'd like to create fonts. As I said, you can do that directly here. You don't have to purchase them. You want to do a cupcake or something. Not real sure what you're asking me there, Miss Tammy. You like to make T-shirts for your grandchildren, so you love the HTV. Me too. I don't have grandchildren, but I like the HTV. So the roll feeder I'll put on my list to do. Maybe we do that next. We will not have a show next week. I am in Florida, so we're not going to be. We will not have anything next week. Okay. You're due for a hard frost, so you're labeling spice jars. Cool. You're making notebook covers for Christmas. All right, so it has scanned it in. It is finished transferring, and we will come back over here. Okay, leaf. Image scanned by my computer. Now this one's a scarecrow. We are going to crop it in, pull it in. And you can tell this one's processing faster because there's not as much information there. Okay. So now I'm going to go enhanced image tracing. And I will zoom in. You'll notice it grabbed all of these parts down here immediately. Once I hit enhanced image tracing, we are going to add and trace around this hat. And I'm going to scroll up a little bit and continue tracing around it because I didn't have it all in the picture. And my mouse and I are wiggly woggly today. Let's see what we get. All right, so we're pretty darn close to what I want. I'm going to take my minus sign and I'm going to get rid of this part. So my pencil, see how that minus that out? And I'm going to do the same thing over here. And it should take that little part out. And I could take this out or not. I'm going to leave it alone just simply because I don't think it's necessary to futz with it that much. We can I can erase a little bit of this and see if we can get that closer to the line. But we always have that capability of futzing with it and getting it a little bit better. So that was not a good option. I can come back in and erase that mark with my eraser and then put my pencil back in. There we go. And I am pretty happy with those results. Yes, you do have to purchase enhanced image tracing. I believe that is a dealer purchase. So we're going to touch OK. Oh, I should have hit a minus sign right there. Oh, well. Now, let's go into our paintbrush and go into our layers and select the pieces first. I'm going to grab my paintbrush and grab the orange and touch OK. And depending on how long you spend on enhanced image trace, depends on how long it takes to get it out. Okay. So I've given you orange and I'm going to make it a wider line so you can actually see it on your end. There are some things that I need to work on. Let's first of all get rid of this one. So I selected it, I'm tapping it, and I'm pressing delete. I'm happy with the head, I'm happy with the star, I'm happy with the nose, I'm happy with the collar, I'm happy with the hair, except for I may make a couple of little tweaks to that. My hat, on the other hand, needs a little bit of assistance. So I'm going to select it and I'm going to tap it a second time to play with it. We're going to zoom in on the hat. We're going to hide our control points for right now and grab back our select tool, and then we can take these points and move them back. So if you want multiples at the same time, if you move your cursor away from where you're at, you can draw around those and grab more than one at a time. So let's say I want to grab those two. Just put your cursor outside of the line and drag them both in. I'm going to tap it again. That's fine. We're going to pull this down. Pull this one in. Okay. So if I want that to turn a sharper corner, I would turn my control points back on, and then I can manipulate that to where it turns that corner better. I like to work with it without the control points on first because I find them distracting. And then if I need to adjust them, I can always pick them back up. So it depends on your method for madness. Would you rather draw it yourself or adjust what something else has drawn for you? That is the question. But this one has been asked for a while, so that's why we did it today. Now, I want to add a point between these two. I need to find the point that gives me the blue line between the two. So I'm going to select this point right here. That gives me that blue line right there. And we're going to choose add a point, and now I can manipulate that down in there. And I think we can get rid of a few of these. So I'm going to highlight all those and we're going to subtract them out. That little minus sign gets rid of them. Ooh, do you see that little curve? That tells me I have a edit node, that one of those controller points that's out of control there. So let's take a few of these out. Okay, so now we got a little snagget here. And there's a couple of ways I could play with this. And I am going to play with it the easiest way possible. So we're going to grab a little rectangle. Let's zoom all the way out. We're going to make it really, really small. And then I'm going to zoom in on that area. And y'all remember those divide, weld, subtract? I went too far. Divide, weld, subtract tools that we have. We're going to take this little rectangle in here. We're going to rotate it into position. We're going to make it even smaller so that I can divide that line apart. So we have we're going to hold the control key down and grab the hat and then grab that little rectangle. Well, it's not letting me do that because this is grouped. So we're going to go into our layers and ungroup. So now we can come in and grab our rectangle and our hat. And we can go to our edit shape. And we can choose remove overlap or divide. I'm going to go with divide, so it divides those parts. And it gives me all of my separate pieces. Then we can get rid of the ones that we don't need. And let's turn these two back into orange. All right, my computer has decided not to play nice with me. There we go. So we're going to grab that one and change it back to orange. And make its line bigger so that y'all can see it. And do the same thing for this one. This is just a visual thing so you guys can see it while we're online today. So now I have two separate pieces. I'm going to tap that one the second time, turn off my control point, and move my edit nodes. We're going to subtract that one out. My hat's done. Now, let's fix this little piece right here. And the hat band is done. Last piece that needs to be adjusted would be this guy. Tap it twice. And then you can pull in your lines. Okay? So, basically, that is how you would do a quilt block pattern. And you could send all of the pieces at one time to your scan and cut, or individually, you could say, my hat is going to be, let's turn off the background layer here, the image. We could say, my hat is going to be black. You could say your star is going to be gold. You could say the hat band is going to be yellow. I got to remember what the other parts are. Let's turn this shape back on and let it tell me what it is. That's the head, so that would be a flesh color. And the only reason I'm doing this, it doesn't make a bit of hill of beans to the scan and cut, but it may help you when you're trying to figure out what you are sending to the scan and cut at one time. This is the collar. It says that should be black. And this says green. So those are your pieces, and the nose, I guess you would go with probably a brown or a black. Those are your pieces that you have, and they're ready to go to the scan and cut now. I personally would send them all at one time so that I could have them there and I wouldn't have to keep going back and forth between CanvasWorkspace and the actual machine itself. All right, so let's see here. Do I have to be on the online version of CanvasWorkspace to send it? No. I have to be connected to my scan and cut. My CanvasWorkspace account must be connected to my scan and cut machine. I am working on the desktop version. So I'm working on your PC. You have this, you can do it either from a Mac or from a Windows operating system. Okay, Kathy likes working with embroidery designs. Now, speaking of which, so let's say we wanted to turn those pieces that we just created into an embroidery file. How could I do that? You could definitely use the scan to cut data and transfer that to CanvasWorkspace to clean it up and then export it as an FCM. So you can do it either way. It depends on if your scan and cut is picking it up. I was showing a different part today just simply because this is a bigger area to work on, and sometimes you can't tell if all of your cut spaces are there. But you could scan the data and transfer that to Canvas Workspace for sure. So let's take these FCM, let's export these and take them into our BES4 and turn them into an applique. I may have to think about that one a little bit. Because of the way this one is done, it is in multi-layers. So the BES would not be my first choice. That would be more of a P design one for me. And that's not going to be a fast process, gang. So today we don't really have that kind of time, but I will take one piece or one or two pieces of it and show you how to do that. I'll go ahead and export it. So hold on. We'll go up to the File pull-down menu and choose Export Transfer FCM File. And it just tells me my data is not going to be transferred with it. So I'm just going to export my FCM file this time, and I'm going to put it on my downloads. What is this one? It's a scarecrow. Or something of that nature. The enhanced image tracing keeps you from having to manually trace the whole thing, Marcia. Sometimes it does an amazing job. Sometimes, depending on the intensity or what you've got on your scan that you're trying to scan, not so well. If you're not comfortable with drawing tools, it can help you out. If you are comfortable with drawing tools, no worries. We're going to type in PE Design. Hope I have my dongle in. And go from there. So in PE Design, you have a Scan and Cut tab. This is not in the palette version of this. This is only in the brother portion. We're going to choose Import. And then we are going to locate where that file is. So if I click on my file folder, it is in my downloads folder. I'm going to click OK, and I should see Scarecrow down through here somewhere. There it is. I'm going to import it and close it. Excellent question over there, and it's already in stitch format. We're going to rotate this so we can play with it right side up. When you bring it in as an embroidery design, bring it into PE Design, you can make it into whatever you want. So let's ungroup this guy so we have separate pieces. Let's say we want the hat to be an applique, and I don't want the rest of it to be the hat. Let's do the hat and the star as an applique. So I'm going to hold my control key down and click the hat and the star. We've got them both. We're going to choose our applique wizard, and I'll leave it at a blanket stitch today. We want it to replace. I'm going to click OK. So now that I've got two different appliques, and I will play with those again in a minute. I'm going to ungroup them first and then group this guy back to itself. Where are my start pieces? Here are my start pieces. Select them and group them. Control G for group. And let's do the same thing for the hat pieces. 1, 2, 3. Select them. Control G for group. Okay. So I've got my two applique pieces. Oops. I didn't get that one piece grouped. There is a star hanging out somewhere that's not grouped. There it is. Select it and group it. All right, so my hat band is this right here, correct? Let's say I want that to actually embroider. I can come and bring it in, and I can go up to my Shapes menu, change it from running stitch to whatever you want as your outline. I'm going to actually leave it as a running stitch, and I'm going to change it to a fill stitch. If you want to change your colors to where they match, there I've got two matching colors. I've now got my fill stitch there over the top of my hat, and then I can put my star on top of it, although right now it's not. So cheater's way of getting it to the front, instead of dragging it where you want it to do, Control X, cuts, Control V, paste. So now it's back on top. Okay, this is the face. So if I would have to actually look at the pattern itself to see how this fits together, but here's the face. And I think it actually goes underneath that area. And let's turn it into a fill. There we go. We want it to be cream color. So let me change my thread palette. Color. Thread palette, brother. I like smaller thread palettes because it gives me, I don't have to go around hunting for days for what I'm looking for. Brother Embroidery. Brother Embroidery has every basic color. This gives me the capability of just popping it, plopping and dropping. And I'm going to take, this is the hair. Shape. Change it to a fill stitch. You get the concept. And change our color to yellow. I'm being lazy this time. I'm not going to play that. Find the right color. That one needs to be duplicated. Easy way to do that. Home, arrange copy, vertical mirror. Take that and drop it on the other side. The collar, I believe, goes on at the very top. So let's cut that and paste it. I think that's how it was. Somewhere along those lines. We don't need all of that, so let's shrink it. And turn on that fill. And I do believe that was supposed to be black. Brown will work. So you basically have your design ready. I would futz with it, I'll be honest. I would sit here and manipulate it. This is not generally the way that I do one. When it's this complex, I tend to draw it myself. But there you go. Okay, so I'm coming back for questions, and then we are finishing up this today. All right. How do you delete tiny things in your design that you bought? There are a lot of tiny pieces. In an FCM file, on your machine, you go, if you're on CanvasWorkspace, you just select the pieces and press delete on the keyboard. If you're on the machine itself, when you bring in the design and you get all the way to the screen that's layout, where you would actually move your pieces around. You can touch edit. There are arrows on that next screen. You arrow through to the ones that you don't want and press the trash can. Okay. All right, Judy, you used your scan and cut for a floral vase that was on a piece of fabric. You wanted to turn into embroidered quilt block. Very cool. Great idea. All right, guys, you guys are not as talkative today as usual. So did I bore you to tears or what? So Lois is going to use the roll feeder to make a banner for her birthday. That's a great idea. And about a baby shower. Great idea. The tiling, I think you all would enjoy too, if you're doing bigger spaces on a child's wall or something. That is kind of fun. Okay. So that allows you, what I did today was allow you to bring in a scan and cut pattern, trace it through the enhanced image tracer after scanning to transfer to CanvasWorkspace. The enhanced image tracing allowed you to refine that scan. Sometimes it does better than others. If there's a lot of information in the scan, it's not going to get it as well. If you have a nice clean scan, I mean, hers are really pretty to work with, and they are easy to trace around, so you could easily trace that around and get exactly what you want when you scan it in to transfer to Canvas Workspace. Transferring it to Canvas Workspace just allows you to refine that cutting line so that you have a prettier end result cut. You don't have to do it, but you can. So that is one of the things that you can scan it and you can cut it. If you scan it and you can cut it and you're happy with it, that's fine. If you want to refine things, that's where Canvas Workspace comes in to help you out along that process. Okay. All right, guys. Let me see here. Can I import my artwork into P-Design 11 to help me put my right place? Yes, I could. Not if I've scanned to transfer to Canvas Workspace. If I had scanned it in as a JPEG, yes. So the scan to USB is turning something into a JPEG. So on your scan and cut machine, you have scan to cut data, you have scan to direct cut, you have scan to USB, and you have scan to transfer to Canvas Workspace. Direct cut is scanning and cutting directly what you have on your mat, not doing it out of anything else. Scan to cut data creates cut data from what you scanned so that you can scan it out of something else. Scan to USB scans it in as a JPEG image. So it's just like a household scanner. From there, you can bring that into software and trace it, or use it as a backdrop to align pieces together. Scan to transfer to Canvas Workspace scans it in as an image file that allows you to look at. You can look at it on Canvas Workspace and do enhanced image tracing or image tracing, depending on which one works for you. Okay, if neither of them work, then what you can do is do what I did today. Draw your own. You can use the shapes. You can use any of the shapes. You can use the drawing tool and draw around it yourself. It depends on how much effort and time that you want to put into something. Today's lesson was more about, if I can't get what I want on my scan and cut, what else can I do with it? How can I make this work for me? Now, I did not try scanning these in and cutting them out scanning to cut data on the machine itself. I'm sure they will work. I didn't try that today. This was more about Canvas Workspace, so maybe we'll do that another time. But just so you know, since I did not create that pattern, I am popping that up. I have no association or affiliation with this person. They allowed me to use their patterns. They have some stinking cute patterns to use. So I met her at a show, and she said yes, that it was perfectly fine to use her stuff as long as I told people where we got it from. And I'm all about giving the credit where the credit's due. I didn't draw these, so there you go. Check out the envelope part of it. That was the very beginning. So whoever it was that asked that question, I went back and looked in my messenger and could not find that anywhere. I know it was from last week's, but I don't remember. And remember, we will not be on next week. It will be the week after. So I'll see you election day. I don't know if we want to go there on election day, but I'll see you election day. So y'all have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your week. For those of you that are in my class, I will see you tomorrow afternoon at 3 my time in our Zoom meeting. Hopefully I won't post that to the rest of the world today. So you guys have a great rest of the day. Oh, and my Lettering So Easy group, we do meet again this Thursday. This is a busy week for me. I'm a busy Facebook girl this week. So you guys have a great rest of the day. See you in 2 weeks. Bye.